Hey, hello, friends. It's your friend Lee McCormack from Lee Likes Bikes. I'm sitting here now. Um, I got this shoulder replaced 6 months ago. It feels great. You can kind of see the scars almost gone away. I got range, no pain, strength's coming back on, getting a little bit of muscle back. This one got changed out 3 weeks ago. Nice fresh scar. It's coming along too. Um, so I got a question. So one of my roles in the cycling world is I'm the head trainer for the NEYC. That's the New England Youth Cycling League. They have high school, middle school, and some younger kids out riding and racing. It's beautiful. I also was the head trainer for NICA, which is the National League, and I'm also the head. I've been acting as a head trainer for some of the splinter leagues like Colorado, etc. And here's a question I received from Josh, and he's a volunteer coach with New England Youth Cycling, NEYC. And I want to say this, right? Like Josh, like I know you, and you're one of the good ones, and you're awesome. And I really appreciate the question. I'm going to answer this not specifically to you, but to these coaches in general. And also, too, if you're a rider, you're probably self-coaching, so this advice would apply to you as well. Okay, here we go. So here's the question. Lee, comma, thanks so much for all your work this year for NEYC. You're welcome. Also, I hope your shoulder surgery recovery is going well. It is. Thank you. A couple questions for you. One, do you have suggestions or ideas on how to coach navigating a trail or how to ride a new place? Some of my coaches are experienced mountain bikers but new to coaching. Great question. Two, steps for coaching a rider who's coming back from injury, parentheses, injured during a practice ride on a tough for them descent. Okay, so we'll get into this. And again, Josh, I know you're one of the good ones, and I appreciate your question. I'm going to answer this as truthfully as I can, as clearly as I can. This is also in writing on my blog at leelikesbikes.com. So the first big question is how to help riders explore new trails. I'm going to just try to read here, stay on track so I get excited. I suspect you're asking for an easy trick, but I have to give you the real answer. The only way for riders to feel confident riding new trails is for their core skills and their confidence to match the demands of that trail. It's that simple. Okay, so I played trumpet as a kid at military academy. I was really good at playing military marches like da 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 da, and I was also the bugler, so I would be like da 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 all day long, and I was really good and skilled in that narrow style of playing a trumpet. Now I took off 10 years, a lot of trauma associated with the horn, but in college I went back to it, and they needed a trumpet in the advanced jazz band, and they just kind of threw me in there. Let me just tell you this. Jazz is a lot more complex at that level than like basic military school musicianship, right? It shifts continually. So like a really good jazz trumpet player has such a mastery of all the styles and conventions that they can follow the rest of the band and then they can create a beautiful group flow. It's awesome, right? I just wasn't that good. I couldn't keep up, and the teacher had to stop the band all the time and correct me. I just was not qualified to play at that level. I shouldn't have been in that band, right? So like riding like a technical New England trail is a lot like sitting in with a creative jazz ensemble. Like the core of movements are always the same everywhere you go: position, braking, cornering, jumping, pedaling, and so on. But in a technical trail that you've never seen, they happen in seemingly random order, and they're in different crazy combinations. And it takes a very high level of skill to be able to ride these trails extemporaneously, knowing that whatever comes, your subconscious can handle, right? Um, I've trained personally about 11,000 riders of all levels and styles. And I've coached more than 1,500 volunteer coaches for NICA, NEYC, and other groups, okay? I know because I work with people. I work with civilians. I work with volunteer coaches. I work with, quote, professional coaches sometimes. I know that very few riders and even fewer coaches are spending the time to develop the skills that are required to actually enjoy the kind of trails they want to ride. So here's like some realistic advice. Number one, like pick trails that match the ability of your riders. Don't take people where they don't belong. Like Like right now, like my whole mountain biking life is changing, and I'm going to be making different decisions. Okay. Two, like I understand, like if you live in an area where all the trails are technical, then you don't have much choice. Also, if you're a coach, chances are you're dealing with a lot of people of different levels. That's my life. I handle it all the time. So what you got to do is know, if you're a coach, one of your jobs is to understand the ability of each of your riders and to help them understand which lines are good for them to ride, which ones they can go around or maybe walk around, right? And you have to set up a culture, right, where there's no harsh judgment for someone saying no. Like you need to celebrate smart decisions, not stupid bravery. This is a cultural thing. It starts from the top down, from the coach itself, okay? And three, like remember, we only operate in two states. Like if you want to do the thing and it's awesome, that's green. Go have fun. If you don't want to do the thing, don't do it. That's red. That's great. It's the yellow. It's the maybes, the woulda, the shoulda, I guess I need to try this. That's where we get in trouble. We never ride yellow. We have full go, full no. That's it. If there's any doubt, walk it out. Okay? And really, like, if you want to be able to go as a rider to new trails or take your students or your kids to new trails and have them enjoy it, you got to do the skills work to handle what's there and, of course, make good decisions. Okay? It's that simple. Okay? Second question is, how to help a rider come back from injury. Okay? That's another great question. Number one, know how the crash happened. What was the mechanism? If you understand how the crash happened, you can avoid the mistakes that caused that crash. There's no good, bad, I'm awesome, I'm terrible. No, it's input, output. When you understand that, like, what causes your crashes, you can be confident that crashing your bike is not the act of some mysterious, malevolent God. It's just the result of a bunch of inputs that you can change to get a different result. It's that simple, okay? Like I was working with this really well-known CEO in a cycling company. He's awesome, man. And we're on a pump track. He goes into the turn too fast. He freaks out. He does the standard, pushes his head away from danger. Front tire washes out. He crashes. This has been happening a lot. So it's like he's bringing up his trauma. And after, things settle down, I was like, hey, man, all right, how are you? And he was shaking. He was like, my front tire washed out, like he was a victim. And I was like, it was time for tough love. And I said, no, dude, no. Tires just don't slide out. You came in too fast. You ignored line choice. You came in too tight. You freaked out. You pushed your head away from danger. The front tire got light, and then it lost traction. Like, if you do those things, you will crash every single time. If you don't do those things, that crash won't happen. Okay? The second thing to consider is when people get hurt physically, especially in a group situation or under a coach, right? Because there's like a little bit extra tins to that. When people get hurt physically, they also experience what I'll call trail trauma. And trail trauma is like all trauma. It could be getting picked last for dodgeball. It could be someone you care about saying something mean to you. It could be anything. Trauma is trauma, and it gets stored in your body, and it affects you both on and off the bike, okay? And like the systems that we really focus on, especially in my work, are the universal systems that help you do everything better. They don't know the difference between riding a technical switchback, asking for a raise, going on a date, giving a speech. It's all the same. So if you experience trail trauma on your bike, it can affect you elsewhere. And so like I work with this pro enduro guy. He's like a young, guy, mid-late 20s, high achiever guy, professional enduro racer, and he'd been crashing. And he was so traumatized from the crashes, and he thought they were just mysterious, that he lost his general sense of self-efficacy. And at work, he had a high-powered job. He wasn't doing well at work. So he came to me, and I helped him with all that stuff, and now he's winning races, having fun, and crushing work, right? But you have to handle the emotional aspects of this. That's a whole other video, right? Now, if there's an issue with the skills in a situation and the lack of mastery or confidence is causing crashes, then number three, you got to revisit the skill. So, like, It's simple. You can only ride as well as you've trained or practiced. That's it. I can only play trumpet as well as I've practiced playing trumpet. That's it. So if the crash happens in a corner, just go back to basic cornering, like in a parking lot. Make sure the rider's fully confident. Then use your judgment and step them up gradually, maybe some, smooth dirt, loose dirt, tight turn, whatever, and build back up to the turn where the crash happened. Go back there and then handle it. So like that CEO and I, right? We kind of backed it out. We did some other corners perfectly. We went back to the one where he crashed. I told him, you have to talk to your lizard brain. Say to it, like, hey man, I'm going to do this turn again, but I'm going to execute it perfectly, and that crash cannot happen. And so he convinced himself. He went through the corner. It was wonderful, and we're stoked. So we made that a positive learning experience. That's good coaching, okay? All right? I also have to say this. You have to, if you're going to be a coach, either a volunteer or a professional, okay, if you take that on, I believe you have a responsibility, okay? You really do. You should never, ever take riders on trails that are too tough for them. Like, you said, Josh, right? And I love that you were honest. You said, like, the trail was tough for them. Well, if it's tough for them, don't take them there. Or if they have to be on the trail, help the rider understand what they can do and help the rider navigate around sections, walk, run. Anything they do with a green mindset is positive. That includes walking with impunity, which is faster than crashing anyway, right? I'm going to say this clearly, you guys, like all you coaches out there, there might be a waiver and you might not be legally responsible for what happens out there. But like, if somebody gets hurt because you took them somewhere they're not ready for and you didn't help them manage the situation, that's your responsibility. That's a mistake you made. And I got to be clear, like the kid might scrape her knee, right? But there's more about it. There's more going on. There could be some trail trauma there, and that's going to mess up their psyche, and it's going to bleed into the rest of their life, right? So please take care and be responsible as a coach, okay? And we all love mountain biking. We all love mountain biking. I love it. Dude, I gave my body to this sport, and I'm going to go back to it, man, in a new way, right? But it's like, I got to say it, like, as a whole, coaches in this industry, it's really a hobby for most people. I'm a professional coach. I charge the same professional rate that your doctor or lawyer charges because I deliver that level of value. And that's, by the way, how I've been able to coach about 11,000 riders and not take anybody to the hospital. I've had insurance the whole time because I have zero claims. Zero claims. But people are getting hurt out there, okay? And I was an expert witness on a case here locally near Boulder, okay, in which a coach forced a 14-year-old rider down an illegal downhill trail that the kid said he was afraid to ride. I rode the trail. It was a handful, okay? The coach also told the kids to turn on Strava so they could compare time. So it's just like a really unhealthy situation from the beginning, right? The kid went for it, and the kid's a quadriplegic, okay? He's a quadriplegic now, right? And it's because the coach was lazy, unprofessional, and had ego. And because of that, the lives of that kid and his family are permanently changed. And the settlement was in the many millions of dollars, enough to put a lot of us out of business. And his dad wants me to talk about this because he wants to do anything he can to prevent this from happening to other families. So if you're a coach, if you decide to take that on, please take care of your riders, manage risk, okay? And then within that, okay, if you want to teach, you have to master yourself. You have to master your own darn self. Like I have trained about 1,500 volunteer coaches. I run a coaching business. I'm always looking for the right people to hire. Out of the 1,500 people I've coached, about 1% are people I would consider to be solid enough technical riders and solid enough people to work for me. 1%, okay? You can only teach what you know, okay? If you want to serve as a coach, as a volunteer or a professional or a hobbyist, somewhere in the middle, Most coaches out there who work for the big coaching companies like Ninja, those kinds of people, they're making 18, 20 bucks an hour. They coach maybe once or twice a month. It's a hobby, okay? But no matter what level you're at, okay, one, you have to continually develop your own kung fu mastery of yourself. As a human being, A, always. As a mountain biker, B, yes. And finally, as a coach, okay, you have to continually develop that. I have been a mountain biker for 35 years. When I was 35 years old, I was the Cat 1 national champion for downhill. Awesome. It's a goal I set, then I achieved. I'm 50. Last summer, at 53 with no shoulder joints, I was PRing on Strava. So I'm still getting better as a rider and as a coach. I'm at a whole new level. You gotta continually develop your skill, okay? And then, okay, if you're out teaching, only teach within the scope that you have personally mastered. Number one, teenagers smell hypocrisy a mile away. And if you're saying stuff that you're not doing yourself, they're just going to disregard you. And one of the big issues, by the way, with these volunteer coaches is, I hear it all the time, the kids don't respect you because you're not hinging, you're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So, right? So what I do when I train these coaches, especially with NEYC, is I limit scope. And I teach them how to identify whether a rider is safe. That's all we need to know. And then make decisions around that. Right? So I want to say this again. Continually develop your mastery as a human, A, always first human. As a mountain biker, B, and then as a teacher. And make sure you're teaching within a scope that you are comfortable in. And when you're out there riding, make decisions on trails, lines, speeds, culture, etc. that keep you and your riders in your safe zones. Okay? That's that advice. Like, that's enough tough love. Like, I love mountain biking. We all love mountain biking. It's a beautiful lifelong pursuit. If you stay with it, it'll lead you through all the stages of life. It's beautiful, right? And the more you work yourself as a person, the better you're going to do. I hope that's helpful. Namaste.